This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, changemakers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Super Crow stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Hello, folks. I am so excited. Today, we have with us one of the organizers from the original 1970 Earth Day. So, can you imagine what it would have been like to be there at the first one, beginning a movement that has changed the world? So, stick around. You don't want to miss this episode. We have with us today Professor Alan Tratner, and welcome now. To the Super Crowd presents Superpowers for Good. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and Alan is just a great human being, and we're looking forward to a variety, some further collaboration with him. But he helped us with Super Crowd LA recently. We're excited to do more with him. But Alan has been supporting entrepreneurs, especially green entrepreneurs, environmentally friendly entrepreneurs, ever since that first Earth Day, and is really one of the leaders on the planet for a better Earth. So stick around. You don't want to miss this episode. Alan, welcome to the show.
Aloha, Devin, and to all of your viewers, aloha.
Well, we're
thrilled
to have you.
Thank you.
Let's start, if you'll indulge us. Let's start by take us back to that first Earth Day in 1970. You began a movement that has changed the world. What was it like organizing that first event?
Well, first of all, Earth Day is no major event like that is done alone. I was one of the helping founders. Senator Gaylord Nelson, who was known as, at that time, the conservation senator in the U.S. Senate, and some other people had thought about doing something that we had been doing. A little bit of background. In the 60s, there was an incredible, what a decade that was, the marches about anti-war and women's rights and civil rights. I marched with Martin Luther King Jr. and now know his son, after Martin Luther King Jr. III. And I got into this whole activism thing, making a difference on this planet and, stopping nuclear weapons. And so they were having teach-ins at colleges. That became the way to get everybody together and get the educational institutions really juiced up. And so Gaylord Nelson and everybody thought that this would be a good idea. And what triggered this, that personally touched me, was that in 1969, which was one of the most amazing years in human history, we sent people to the moon and returned them safely, the highest technological achievement at that time. Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon, has been on our board for many years, a champion. It looks like everybody that goes to space and sees the Earth comes back all infected about how fragile spaceship Earth is. And in 1969, even with that occasion, there was a terrible Union Oil blowout of an oil platform in Santa Barbara Channel. And at that time, I just jumped on my little 50cc, 200 mile per gallon Honda motorcycle scooter and ran up to Santa Barbara. And we were there with hundreds and hundreds of volunteers standing in ankle deep, horrible smelling oil that coated all the beaches, and fish and animals and birds were dying around us. I broke down, fell on my knees and cried. I had already started an environmental action group about pollution in California during that past year. And then I just said, we've got to stop this. We have to find a way to do it. And I was invited then as a triggering point to do this, what was going to be a teach-in. Earth Day was supposed to be a teach-in on April 22nd this spring of 1970. And it turned out to shock all of us involved in doing that. I was running LA and running back and forth to Santa Barbara. and organizing this. And not only were schools involved in music and everything else, and people turning out and celebrities and everyone that was concerned. Life magazine called this the beginning of the modern environmental movement. And what was really cool is that 1/5 of the U.S. population turned out for that first event. And we had a big session in Washington D.C., a big event, and other ones across the country. And I had one of the biggest ones, in a way, two of them that we were involved with. And on that occasion, I created this incredible pioneering impact incubator, Green to Gold, and the environmental education group producing modules for schools. LA Unified, the second largest in the United States, the first modules, and it was about smog and pollution and for students. And so that's what got me into this. But the incubator was my way to invent the future. I used to say we invented our way into this mess. We could innovate and invent our way out. And I wanted to foster green entrepreneurs, green inventors, researchers, scientists to make a difference. And we became an anomaly in that we also are incubating some 315 nonprofits that are socially and environmentally responsible to date. There's a wonderful synergy and symbiotic relationship between the mothership Green to Gold, a nonprofit tax-exempt organization, and our 100,000 plus ventures and inventors, and our 315 nonprofits, all kind of working in unison. And doing programs like yours are so amazing to us and so important to get the word out.
Yeah, it is just amazing work that you're doing, Alan. As you have your hands in a lot of pies. I wonder if you could give us just really focus on one example of something that you are excited about that is going well with a nonprofit or an entrepreneur that you're supporting with the program. Give us one good example that we can really sink our teeth into and understand.
Well, let me go this way. When you have 100,000 inventors and entrepreneurs and innovators, I mean, it's hard to pick one. There's several ones that are breakthrough technologies that we're really going to make a difference about climate change, mitigation of climate change, the renewable energy, regeneration, everything, agriculture. You can see there's a poster right back here, Build Back Green. When Lahaina, where I am, had that terrible incineration of the city, we created a couple weeks afterward this broadcast on Regen Media, Green to Gold, Build Back Green. And it's taken on a life of its own. That's a nonprofit project. That is, how do you take on a disaster that have been happening increasingly, historic amounts, terrible disasters, loss of lives and property, and do something about it. And so Build Back Green was a 5-hour test as a broadcast, but then turned into its own entity. And it's a project of ours and a nonprofit that has all the kinds of methodologies and technologies and experts and everybody that we can bring to bear when you've been hit by an environmental climate-driven disaster or other natural or man-made war issues, about how do you build back green, sustainable, and environmental and food secure and renewably powered and self-sufficient. And I think that's an important lesson we learned from what happened here in Lahaina and are still in the throes of the aftermath and other places. So that's a nonprofit. One of the most remarkable for-profit entities that we've ever done have been in renewable energy, breakthroughs in wind, in solar, and geothermal. I got very involved in geothermal because after Earth Day, 2 years later, I was invited and got a grant to do the first International United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm, and all these NGOs, non-governmental organizations, hundreds came together. We met everybody. We made a Magna Carta type document about the planet and what to do. It was really kind of moving. But I was tasked to do two things: do a report energy options for man, and looked at it in a very objective way about all the energy that we consume and what it's doing to the planet, what are the good alternatives. And that was distributed in hundreds and thousands of those. But I also did a whole series of wall charts. One of them behind me is the, right here, I can't do this right, is the thinker, too late to doer. And that's the skeleton of Rodin's thinker, but the flesh is gone and muscles. And on his forehead, it says, the thinker is pollution, starvation, and war. The thinker, too late to doer. I never knew that I'd end up having a political piece of art that had swept around the planet, and we're in an international museum for political art. It was a statement I felt from my heart about why aren't we doing what we know is the problem and solving it. And so the energy aspects are key to this. The World Watch Institute has said there's three major crises for humankind, and that is energy and food and water. And we have to solve that, or we're going to really have a mess worse than we have with climate change, because it has to do with all of our survival and the other species on this planet. And this is why I'm so powered up by doing that and making a difference in how we've contributed with our incubator.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about your work is that you began to appreciate relatively early that investment crowdfunding was a relevant part of the ecosystem for climate solutions and impactful entrepreneurship. How did you see that early, and how have you seen it used successfully in your time?
I will tell you, there's a leading story. I was fortunate enough in President Biden's last term, he had a journey to Europe. I was asked to come along, and we spoke in Berlin and at the largest industrial show in the world, and to the European Union and the World Bank Venture Fund. And what was interesting about this is that we needed to think about how to change things. At that time, we were planning a European kind of the American connection across the Atlantic for a corridor, a green corridor. Unfortunately, that was stopped by the Trump administration. But what went on with that is that I also got exposed to the first vestiges of equity crowdfunding. And because the SEC reached out to us as a kind of a famous incubator and to get some impact and input to what they were putting together and what the rules would be. And it was interesting that the angel and venture world was kind of against this and didn't want to see it happen. So there would be tons of fraud. The SEC was trying to protect that from happening. There's three levels of equity crowdfunding out there, GoFundMe for charities and all that. And there's a lot of abuse and a lot of success. Then there's the reward-based crowdfunding that most people know about, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and all kinds of other platforms. A lot of successes, a lot of frauds, misuse. But equity crowdfunding was the reverse. And they may set it up, Reg CF and the SEC, so that there's very little fraud. And it was the democratization of investing. No longer did you have to be wealthy or be in power or be in royalty or something to be able to have the money to invest. Anyone in the world, accredited or unaccredited, could invest in an American company, which gave us a chance in Green to Gold to showcase the ventures that were going to make a difference for survival of the planet and green economy that I've been about from the very beginning. That's my chore on this planet, is to grow grassroots in organizations, governments downward, a green economy that's sustainable, inclusive, global. And equity crowdfunding gave us that opportunity. And ever since it hit the ground through COVID, when everybody was shut down and there weren't any angel venture meetings that were live like we were used to, pitch opportunities, crowdfunding surged. And it has never looked back. And it is important about what you do with the super crowds that I got so excited about in the past years. I listened into them. Some of the people that we have been part of your super crowds. This to me was the biggest breakthrough in history about inventing. Every person could invest in something they care about and make extra money from that profit. And it was that's a reason why I believe so much in equity crowdfunding.
Yeah, it is amazing. I share that passion. Super crowd members, think about what Alan is saying. Alan comes at this from the most, earth focused, the most solution-oriented viewpoint you can imagine, and yet he's saying, "I see crowdfunding as a part of the solution to problems," and and I love it. I love it. I hope you share that vision. I hope you share the excitement that he has, that I have, and join us in this genuine movement to solve problems, including climate and related problems. Okay, listen, we're going to take a quick break, Alan. Forgive me. So, folks, we're here with Professor Alan Tratner. He is helped organize the first Earth Day in 1970 and has been helping entrepreneurs with solutions, including climate solutions, ever since. He is a remarkable, revered leader in this space, and we're thrilled to have him with us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to shift gears and talk to Alan about his superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding. The book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy. Supercrowd 25, where innovation meets impact.
18 hours of live content, 5 platforms, 1 global audience.
Join the largest event for regulated investment crowdfunding. Live pitches, expert panels, real change.
August 21st and 22nd.
Scan the code or visit thesupercrowd25.com to register free today.
Struggling to raise capital for your business? Unlock the power of the crowd with AI. My free guide, Crowdfunding Made Simple, walks you through every step to success. Get funded smarter, faster. Scan the QR code now for your free download.
Welcome back. I am just so excited. Today we have with us Professor Alan Tratner. He is one of those organizers of the first Earth Day back in 1970. You know, I was alive then, but don't remember it. He shared some of his recollections about that first event and the movement, the incredible movement that it helped catalyze. The difference he's made in the world, huge. And he's devoted his career to helping entrepreneurs with his Green to Gold Incubator. We're going to shift gears now to talk to Alan about his superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. Alan, you have done so much. Your career has been so storied. And one of the things that I love about you today is that you're not slowing down. You're building momentum, picking up steam, doing more, not resting on your laurels, not celebrating what you've accomplished, but working to accomplish and do yet more. I couldn't be more impressed. What is your superpower?
This is great. If my son, I'll have to let him listen to this. He's 11 years old. By the way, when I had my own son, I finally realized what I was doing all these years. This is his future as well as our present. And it really struck home with me about humans on this planet that gives us sustainability for all life forms, and why that biosphere that we have is so critical. And we've been messing it up, and we need to stop that immediately. But I will tell you, superpower. I should have it. One of the interns drew a picture years ago. I still have it. They rendered and said Captain Green Knight, and I had a cape and everything else. It was kind of a cute thing that's on the wall. But I will tell you, only superpower I can talk about, or maybe a couple, is that I had a background. Early in my life, I won a lot of Scholastic Science and Art Awards when I was growing up, and that caused me to enter contests, and I won a scholarship to come out to California. I grew up in Michigan, and one of the talents I had was the artistic and the scientific background and academic stuff all coming together, and also that my scholarship was to become an industrial transportation and product designer at one of the world's most revered institutions, Art Center College of Design, all that. And I was lucky enough that my family doctor decided that he wanted to have a venture with me. And before I was even in college, I was a vice president of a company that was doing design and stuff. And so I brought that to my ability to help my inventor entrepreneurs and our nonprofits. And since we were a nonprofit from the very beginning and learned the ropes and had people helping us, senators and entertainers and attorneys and everything else, I learned how to run a nonprofit properly and how to do compliance and how to build it and how to build the board and how do you go after funding in a great impact driven nonprofit. So that's why we've done like 315 nonprofits that we've been responsible for creating them, getting them going, give them sustainability, have them with the proper governance bodies. And then I was an inventor. And because I happened to be inventive at that time, and my first inventions were related to renewable energy and transportation. And so I got that whole experience with intellectual property. And then because of that, in our incubator, we started to be followed by investors, angel, high net worth individuals, and we started to get people surrounding us that would help our ventures. So I learned how to do that side of it. And all those different skills could be called my group, my quiver of superpowers, because they help me help my members, for-profit, nonprofit entrepreneurs, innovators, researchers, scientists. It gives me that power to convey to them what they could learn, jump over obstacles, circumvent problems, be problem solvers, critical thinkers. I think that's probably the group of superpowers, and my creativity, my own creativity that I've watched and develop in the kinds of things I care about in inventing in the fields that are going to make a difference. I think that creative spark, that passion, I try to give our entrepreneurs and our nonprofits the same feelings about, which is interesting for nonprofits to think in an entrepreneurial way so that you will succeed, that your missions will be fulfilled, that you'll have a legacy. I think that's probably my best summary of my superpowers.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And you have done so much. It's exciting to hear about that. If you were to coach us, give us one tip on how we could be a little bit more like Alan Tratner.
Wow, that puts you on the spot. Here we go. How to be not so much me about what I know. I think that you have to look at your endeavors, nonprofit or ventures, as not a hobby, although it might be that way while you have the crossover points of when there's enough income or something for you to be full-time. But I think you have to look at it as a passionate career, because if you put your full body into it, your brain and your opportunities and your energies, that's the one thing I've watched differentiate people that peter out. You can't win the race if you quit. And my own experience, 45 years of waiting on a wind turbine that I invented in the past that has always been more advanced than everybody else's. And I had to wait for that to finally develop. If I would have just shucked it away and said, forget it, but I kept working at it. And those in geothermal energy and things like that. So I think passion and being in love with what you're going to do, you are going to have problems. There will be challenges. That's why, by the way, incubation nowadays is like at 89% success rate. Some of the most important, biggest Fortune 500 companies and entrepreneurs have come out of incubation. That's different than acceleration. Let's define that. Acceleration is after full incubation. That's what we've been about. We're the longest existing pioneering, I guess, impact incubator on the planet. I can't find anybody that's older than us. But I think passion and loving what you're going to do and caring about that impact and that legacy and making money so that if you make a lot of money, that you can contribute to charity. That's why it's so cool that we incubate in Green to Gold, both the venture side and the nonprofits. And there's wonderful connections that we make. So you can be charitable in your profitability, but I think it's all passion and drive and energy, but loving what you're doing. Really care about that and have the people that are around you reflecting that same thing. You will be the leader that they need, and they can help you when that happens.
That's fantastic. Alan, it's been such a joy to have us. As we wrap up now, I wonder if you would take just a minute. We've got just 30 seconds. Tell us how people can learn more about you, connect with you more personally.
Okay, so as you've been so kind enough to promote us, you can go to our website, greentogold.org. I am available if somebody wants to text me or write to me at that, alan@greentogold.org. If you have to talk to me and want to explore how we help entrepreneurs and inventors and innovators and nonprofits, and they're not always separate. I try to make that happen often, that you set up your own charitable foundation while you're making a venture. So I think, why don't you do it that way? And I'll be happy to connect with anyone that cares about these kinds of issues.
Fantastic. Alan, thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you every success in your ongoing efforts to make the world a better place, to help people, to help the planet, and to help people be more profitable. You're just doing it all. We want to see you succeed.
Mahalo, as we say in Hawaii. Aloha.
All righty.
Mahalo. Thank
Let's
you.
do some good.